Alright, so what I thought was going to be the last video on Senator Martin's letters actually turned out to be one of the most requested follow-ups on this channel. So back by popular demand, welcome to part 3 of Senator Martin's letters. I think I'm going to turn this into a series. Today I'll share as many of your community responses as I can, while keeping this video from running too long. I've also been looking at ways to post all the letters somewhere, maybe on a blog or Substack. So I just got to figure out how to use Substack first. For today's backdrop, a big thank you to one of our Blue Sky members named Sarah Wynn. I hope I said that right, and if I didn't, I apologize. But thank you for the photos that come straight from Newfoundland and Labrador. Before we start, just a public service announcement. Please double check the channel name when you're clicking on my videos. And make sure it's actually really my channel. Oh, and stick around to the end. I have a little bit of a message about my cats. Alright, let's get into it. Hello, I stand with Canada as a Latvian person, and I would like to ask you one thing in regards to your completely obscene and idiotic letter to Canadian provinces. What makes you think that anyone would want to join your fascist banana republic with backsliding democratic institutions, lack of civil rights, and mass shootings? With all sincerest wishes, go fuck yourself, fuck your party, and stick that letter where the sun doesn't shine. Elbows up, best regards. Angry Latvian. Sincerely thank you for your support from outside of Canada. Dear Senator Martin, thank you for your generous offer to allow us to join the United States. Your clarification of the cost to each of us of such offer was insightful and frankly helped to clarify why we would never want to accept such an offer, as generous as it is. Even though I'm not an elected official in Canada in any capacity, I feel to offer you the similar option is only fair. I will work diligently on your behalf to achieve. We offer you the chance to join Canada and become a province of our great country. We don't require any assimilation of your culture, your community, or languages and religion. You will need to submit to an election process to create representation in accord to our political system. You will have to accept universal health care. You will have to adopt to our gun control laws and other legislation structures. But you will have the ability to remain uniquely Maine in structure. If you are interested in experience living in Canada to test it out, let me know and I will accommodate you for a few months so that you can test drive the experience. We will spend time in both major cities as well as rural communities so you get a full view of the benefit of living here and being part of Canada. I will also throw in a lifetime coffee card at Tim Hortons. It is American-owned but Canadian in spirit. It will also make the transition to become Canadian easier for you. I know there's a lot of sarcasm in this one, but I don't think he would give up his gun control laws. Hey, poop face. First, learn the province's name. Second, stay in your effing lane and your side of the border. And third, and most important, F off. Canada is not for the taking. I'm not very good when it comes to swearing. I just can't do it on a regular basis, so. Fourth, clean up your country. Your literacy rates are primary school level. You have no maternity or paternity leave. People can go bankrupt from breaking an arm. And you all have taken away the rights to choose. Oh, and let's not forget, you have the highest infant mortality rate, the highest incarcerated per capita, and school shootings. Keep your shitty opinions to yourself from the better side of the border. Now, this one is actually from one of our members. I sent the following email to this brown shirt from Maine. I live in Saskatchewan, which is one of the provinces that you feel needs to be adopted by Donald Trump. Canadians do not hate Americans. We only hate Donald Trump and those who like him. Trump loves only money, not his fellow man. He only wants people to either worship him or fear him. He thinks that Matthew chapter 6, verse 24 is fake news and should be removed from the scriptures, along with the rest of the Sermon on the Mount. I have very deep sympathies for you, because you seem to actually believe what he says. Just goes to show how the 77 million followers actually look up to Donald. Dear Joseph, congratulations, you made the news. I know you've been sent many responses to your invitation, and I agree with all of their responses. A resounding no thank you. What I want to address may not have been addressed already, is the further damage you are doing to your own life. You, sir, will have to explain to your own children and grandchildren why you are such a coward. Why you chose not to exercise your own right as a boss to Trump. As a senator, you are his boss, and you have chosen to allow him to run amok. You have chosen to let a criminal and mentally sick man ruin your country when you had the chance to rein him in, and you did nothing. You, Joseph, are guilty. Remember the Nuremberg trials? Following orders was not considered as a plea. The men responsible for these atrocities in Germany were brought to trial even in their 90s. There is no escape. Back then, there were death penalties for these cowards and crooks. I don't know what the punishment is now, but you can be sure of spending your senior years in prison. You will be hunted down for the criminal you are, crimes against humanity. You may want to act and stop Trump before it's too late. Too late for him and too late for you. In any case, you will be brought to trial, and you will pay for the crimes you have committed. Think about it, an owner of Canada. To Joseph, go blow a donkey. We will never join you guys. You can't force people to assimilate. People are people. We will never get along with you arrogant pricks again. Take it from one of your own citizens who does a podcast. If you have to brag about how awesome you are, you're really not. Apply that to Canada. Wonder where this podcast is. I'm special needs. There's no way in hell you assholes will support my kind. In your arrogance, you come across more retarded than I am. Sorry, I don't feel comfortable saying that. In your arrogance, you come across more special needs than I am. Even I can tell when something isn't what people claim it is. Your country is becoming hell on earth. I start calling you guys mega stans. You assholes need to learn to leave people alone, especially when you mess up. You are so narcissistic, you don't even think you messed up. Mega are stupid, and they don't give a F about anything. Anyways, lose our contact info. Don't talk to us. You fossil ass, ugly grandpa at glasses. Sincerely, a nasty, angry Canadian. I think he's angry. Dear Senator Martin, I read your letter to Mr. Brennan Day, the Conservative MLA of Courtenay-Comox region of BC, suggesting a path for the Western Canadian provinces of British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba to become states within the US, with great interest. I also read Mr. Day's reply to you rejecting your invitation, and let me, as a Canadian Armed Forces veteran, add my 2 or 3 cents worth of reply. F you, F your offer, F your nation, and piss off, asshole. If you think the majority of Canada and Canadians, even those in the West, have any desire or want to give up our freedoms and rights to join a fascist shit show your nation has become, then you are sorely mistaken. My advice to you is to take your offer, fold it up until it's knotted sharp and pointy corners, and shove it up your ass and F off. Canada is not for sale, never was and never will be. And if need be, people like me who are long retired from the military service will pick up arms again to defend our nation, our freedom, our culture, our sovereignty, and our flag. In closing, let me reiterate, fuck off, asshole. I think that one deserves an F-bomb. Well done. Senator Joseph Martin, I live in Abbotsford, British Columbia, Canada, and I have heard about and read your letter on the framework of Western Canada to join the US. I have been thinking for several days on how to respond to your letter and the contents therein. It has been a very difficult decision, and I sit here drafting this email to you. I'm still not entirely sure what I'm going to say to you. I had considered sending you a letter rife with satire. However, I fear it would be far too cerebral for you or anyone who reads it. It would not land the way I intended. Suffice to say, the sheer arrogance of your letter is staggering. Having spent my life next to the elephant or sleeping giant that is the USA, American arrogance and the arrogant belief that your manifest destiny is not foreign to me. I have seen and encountered it my entire life. However, it has reached a point like this of which I've never seen before, and never in my life imagined seeing, hearing, or reading. Indeed, it is the arrogance, the unshaking idea that you are correct and everyone else is wrong, and your unwillingness to look outside your border, to understand other people's, to understand that there are many ways to both govern and live one's life, that has brought your country to the state it currently is. Make no mistake, your country is not what you say it is in your letter. Ask and actually listen to any person who lives, grew up, or comes from a country other than your own, and we will almost all tell you how wrong you are. Of course, there are a few who agree with your position. There always is. However, that is a minority. And for those of us who want nothing to do with what's happening with your country, the fascism that you have welcomed to your door are the majority. Living next door to the US in 2025, watching what's happening, the fascism, how Trump's version of SS is terrorizing citizens, immigrations, and tourists alike, is how I imagine I felt living next door to Nazi Germany in 1938 and 1939. You have let this happen to your country, what your founding fathers went to war to get away from, and what they feared the most would or could happen to their new country. Being led, being taken over by a despot tyrant, a king or a king-like figure. I love my country, and like the majority of Canadians, we have absolutely no interest in becoming part of the US, ever. I consider rebutting everything in your letter. However, I have decided that I have clearly demonstrated who has the greater intellect. And so I will now tell you what I think, what I really think of your letter, what you had to say. And indeed, your invitation for several provinces to join the USA, fuck all the way off. On behalf of majority of Canadians, I say this with the utmost sincerity. Great letter. Next one. Joseph Martin, being a Canadian born in New Brunswick, and having visited Portland and Bangor, Maine in the past, after seeing your letter drafted to Western Canada provinces to join USA, I can assure you that I will never step foot in your state ever again. No wonder the world views the US as ignorant, arrogant, and bullies. I can't understand why you would undercut your state's tourism economy that your governor came here to beg Canadians to visit Maine. That's okay with us. Your mega agenda has turned USA into a third world country. We have no desire to ever join the USA. Why would we want to? Worst education system in the world. Trump's Gaspato out of control. Corrupt Supreme Court, DOJ, FBI, politicians, etc. No wonder Canadian surveys show people of the USA as our enemy at 72%, and that continues to rise. If you think for one moment this will change, it will continue for many years to come. Your economy will feel the brunt of it, and there's no way back. You're a typical US politician. You don't love your country. You don't love the people you con into electing you. You only care about how much money you can put into your own pockets, with total disregard for your elected duties. I could go on, but why? The days of bullying our country are over. The US will pay the price as time goes on. People like you and Taco Man have done Canada a favor. You woke us up, and we realize you can no longer be trusted. Our potential is unlimited, and you will soon see the results. Dear Joseph Martin, and all the other related staff and colleagues, I'm sure by this time you've come to regret the open letter regarding Canadian conservative provinces joining the USA. I am a conservative in a conservative province, but I believe that all Canadians understand that due to the deficiencies of your education system, US citizens can't grasp the nature of the freedoms that we currently have in Canada. We're sorry that you've been so grossly let down by your deficient education system. We believe that due to the inherent dangers of simply existing in the US and ignoring anything outside or even inside your borders, you've lost perspective of what freedom actually is. You believe that armed forces roaming the streets, masked, and scooping up swaths of innocent people along with anyone else they feel like detaining, or requiring armed guards in schools, malls, fairgrounds, etc., this is your idea of freedom. We pray that someday you will learn what freedom truly is. Maybe try crossing a border into some other country, such as Canada, for example, and experience it. The first thing you'll notice is that there's no risk of being thrown into a detention facility based off the whim of a border agent. We're sorry that you live in a backwards, repressed country, and that you can't see or understand that you are living in a squalor. We hope someday you find what you don't even realize you're looking for, a country where you can live and learn and earn a decent living wage, and where the government actually takes care of their citizens instead of treating them like mushrooms, kept in the dark, being fed horse. I think this person means horseshit. Senator Martin, I recently read your letter suggesting that Western Canada consider joining the United States. While I'm sure you intended it as a gesture of goodwill, the assumption underlying your invitation are, to put politely, profoundly misguided. Canada is not a struggling younger sibling, waiting to be rescued by a benevolent neighbor. We are a sovereign nation with our own constitution, parliamentary democracy, and judicial system, all which function without the levels of partisan paralysis and institution erosion currently visible south of the border. Your letter reads less like a friendly overture and more like an unsolicited property appraisal on a home that is neither for sale nor in foreclosure. The last time a faction of American leaders assumed Canadians were yearning to be liberated from our governance, it sparked the War of 1812. That effort ended with not grateful citizens waving American flags, but with the British and Canadian troops in Washington and the White House burning in flames. We prefer to keep our disputes diplomatic, but this lesson remains. Respect between neighbors starts with respecting borders. Your repeated emphasis on gun rights is particularly telling. In Canada, we do not conflate personal liberty with unfettered access to firearms. While we respect responsible gun ownership for hunting, for sports, and legitimate self-defense, the idea that universal firearm proliferation equates to freedom is not part of our cultural or legal identity. For many Canadians, your fixation on gun rights does not evoke safety or liberty. It evokes chaos, violence, and tragedies we work hard to prevent. The underlying premise of your offer also reveals a lack of understanding of Canadian values. We prize cooperative governments over performative brinkmanship. We believe in protecting minority rights, even when it's politically inconvenient. We acknowledge that freedom of speech does not absolve one of the responsibilities for what they say. And while our politics are far from perfect, our differences are resolved through ballots, not bullets. Before extending invitations to foreign provinces, perhaps the United States and its elected officials might turn their attention inwards. Your Constitution, oh shit, cat's awake. Your Constitution, so often described as sacred, is currently being trampled or selectively ignored by actors on both sides of your political spectrum. The rule of law is undermined by political theater, gerrymandering, and court system whose ruling have for years openly reflected partisan interests rather than impartial justice. Basic civil discourse has been replaced by a level of hostility that makes genuine compromises nearly impossible. From where many Canadians sit, the US is not in a position to lecture other governance stabilities or unity. I'm sure you will find no shortage of Americans who believe that incorporating parts of Canada is a fine idea, just as you will find Canadians who enjoy visiting the US, and we value our cross-border friendships. But liking one another is not the same as wanting to become the same country. We value our distinct identity, our own policy choices, and our right to chart our own course, even when that course diverges sharply from our own. To be clear, Western Canada is not for sale, adoption, merger, or acquisition. We do not require rescue. We do not aspire to become an annex of a republic whose political leadership, infrastructure, and public health systems are in urgent need of repair. Canada's land, resource, and governance are managed for the benefit of Canadians, not as prizes for foreign acquisitions or exploitations. We are well aware of how resource-rich regions have been treated by outside interests in the past, and we have no intention of inviting that history to repeat itself here. The most respectful and neighborly thing you could do is focus your considerable influences and resources on improving life for the citizens who already elected you. In Canada, we have a phrase you might appreciate: mind your own knitting. It's not meant unkindly, only to remind someone that their time is better spent tending to what is already theirs. Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Canada is your neighbor, not your property, and we plan to keep it that way. Mr. Martin, as a former resident of the Eastern Township of Quebec, I spent many summers of my youth in your state, as well as Vermont and New York states. I thought you should know that your tone-deaf letter to our Western provinces, on the wake, I might add, of our first fully Canadian compressed LNG shipments to Point East. Coincidence? I think not. Ensures that my trip to Maine or the purchase of any good from your states are now behind me. What you don't seem to realize is that all empires fall, and that despite her wealth and former moral compass, every indicator reflects an already active fall in prestige and influence of your country on the global stage. Suggesting that any part of Canada might be better off under the stars and stripes is absurd, and tantamount to suggesting that we board the Titanic after she has already struck the iceberg. Canada has been a faithful partner that has helped lift the United States since World War II. As a reward for her loyalty, we have Americans shoving their noses into our affairs and diminishing what we have built here, which is several magnitudes superior to anything in the USA. It is time for us to set our own path away from the pompous arrogance you so freely demonstrate. The USA is a little more than a Russian puppet in the 21st century, and we will have no part of your ever more fascist regime. You, sir, are drinking your own Kool-Aid. Keep your eyes on your own treasury bond market, Senator. It has become America's canary in the coal mine. This is not a time to be telling others how they should live. Your irrelevant point of view is neither welcoming nor helpful. Kind regards. A proud Canadian who does not consider the USA a viable option for actual freedom and democracy in 2025. You are delusional if you do. All right, I think I got time for one or two more. The cat went back to sleep. Dear Senator Martin, I'm writing in response to the letter you recently sent to Brennan Day regarding your invitation for Canadian provinces to join the United States. Let me be absolutely clear. Canada will never be the 51st state of the United States. We are a sovereign nation and we intend to remain so. Your invitation is both unwelcome and inappropriate. You presented a list of what you see as American strengths. Allow me to address them directly. The Second Amendment. You frame widespread gun ownership as a measure of freedom. In Canada, we value safety along with liberty. True freedom is the ability to live without fear of gun violence. Our system, with strict controls, saves lives every day. Religious expression. You suggest America hold a monopoly on this right. In Canada, freedom of religion is also guaranteed, equally balanced with freedom from discrimination. We celebrate diversity of beliefs, and unlike US, we do not confuse faith with politics. Bilingualism. You dismiss our bilingual heritage as bureaucratic baggage. We see it as an asset. French and English together give us cultural depth and global influence. Our ability to engage in multiple languages is a strength, not a weakness. The Crown. You mock our constitutional monarchy, yet it has given Canada stability, continuity, and a political system free of the cult personality that has too often gripes the US politics. Our loyalty is not to the monarch, but to prove a system that works. National heroes. You urge us to teach our children about Washington, Jefferson, and Lincoln. We already do, alongside global leaders. But our pride is in teaching about Louis Riel, Lester B. Pearson, Pierre Trudeau, and others who have defined our nation. Canada's identity is not borrowed, it's our own. Canada already has a big, beautiful country. Unlike what you might imagine, the greatness is on our terms, not yours. We do not negotiate our sovereignty or our values. Any notion that we would simply fall in line with US politics is both naive and entirely unwelcome. The reality is that Canada is already reshaping North America. Our economic strength gives us leverage, and we do not hesitate to use it to defend our sovereignty. Over the past months, events have made it clear that Canada has the ability to cripple the US economy when it's necessary. And we're not alone. Other nations are following our lead, recognizing that Canada sets the example in holding the US accountable for its policies and overreach. Our resources, our trade position, and our control of key exports are powerful tools, and we're not afraid to use them. We also supply a vast amount of hydroelectric power to the United States, including your own New England region. If Canada chooses to close that switch, the lights would go out in countless American homes and businesses overnight. That is the measure of interdependence you fail to recognize. To be clear, our stance is not against the American people. We deeply value our neighbors to the south. We share culture, trade, friendships, and family ties. But we do not love American politics, the division, the ideology, and the attempt to impose your system beyond your borders. Myself and millions of other Canadians will not return to the United States until long after your dictator, Mr. Trump, and his allies are out of office. Canadians are not looking to be rescued. We are thriving on our own terms. We consistently outrank the US in quality of life, healthcare, education, and social stability. Our universal healthcare, social safety nets, and cultural diversity are not weaknesses. They are advantages that make us one of the most admired nations in the world. The United States is no longer widely seen as a global leader. Instead, its a political instability, divisive policies, and overreach have turned it into more of a cautionary tale. A country admired less for its leadership and more scrutinized for its dysfunction. Canada, on the other hand, continues to earn respect on the world stage for stability, diplomacy, and effective governance. Finally, if any state truly seeks stability, prosperity, and quality of life, it is the United States that should consider joining Canada, not the other way around. Maine is welcome, yes, but so are the other states that might wish to leave the chaos behind and embrace the system that works. So no, Senator, Canada will never accept your offer. If anything, perhaps Maine and any other willing state should consider joining Canada. You may find our stability, healthcare, and quality of life more appealing than the chaos you now defend. My elbows are up. All right, one more and I'm going to wrap it up. Dear Senator, since you decided to get involved in politics of a sovereign country, I decided to do the same. The American arrogance has always made me, and your open letter was just another piece of the puzzle. Yet, considering the fact that you are American, you crossed the line. I am not Canadian, but I have family and friends who are, and will be for as long as they live. What makes you think that the Western provinces would ever want to join a so-called United States of America? I can only attribute it to the bubble which you and your countrymen live. A bubble that convinces you that the US is the greatest place ever created by mankind. It is not. It might have been 100 years ago, when it was forged on freedom and separation from tyranny. But over time, your country has become the very system its founding fathers so passionately opposed. The Constitution you claim to believe in so firmly is being trampled on by your leaders, who are abandoning the rule of law and democracy. Not only do you refuse to see it, but you actively advertise your broken system in an attempt to supplant the sovereignty of a nation that still upholds principles your own leaders have long since ceased to honor. If anything, it is Canada, a truly free country, that should open its arms to the suppressed people of the American states. Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and not pay attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say your brother, let me take this speck out of your eye, when all the time there's a plank in your own eye? You hypocrite. First take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. Matthew 7:3-5. Sincerely. I'm actually really curious where this person is from. They mentioned they're not Canadian, but regardless of where they're from, I really appreciate the support we're getting from outside our borders. What I just showed you isn't just the support from within Canada. It's also support from citizens from other nations, all part of a community here. With so many of these messages coming into my inbox, Reading them out loud here was actually the first time I actually saw them. But what it shows me is this: Canadians and our international viewers are more educated, more sane, and more level-headed than the circus happening south of us. And just to clarify, I'm talking about the Trump supporters. Most importantly, it proves that we're not alone. We're not going to stand for this nonsense. How does she know I'm almost ending? So if you ever feel in your day-to-day life like your friends or family don't really care anymore, remember this. Use this channel as a reminder that there are millions of other people out there who care about our sovereignty, and there are millions of other allies internationally who support us as well. Now, I know a lot of you have been asking for photos of my cats. There's two of them, and both are loud at times, but only one of them really has an opinion that she insists on sharing. I'd love to be able to show you guys photos, but with social media and AI these days, I don't want to risk having my identity revealed because of my cats. What I can tell you though is, one of them is a calico, and the other is a tortie. So I hope everyone understands why I won't be posting photos of them. But don't worry, you'll definitely be hearing them in the future. I've given up trying to mute them. If you found this video helpful, please be sure to hit the like and subscribe button so this message can get out to more people. And also share it with your friends too. And if you're still here and want to see more of my videos, check out the other ones that are showing up on your screen now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.